Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to episode 9 in our campaign game with the Hunters, GMT Games game of World War II U-boat combat where you get to command a U-boat in the Atlantic campaign. Now, before we jump into our patrol number 9 here, I did want to share one thing, which is if you saw episode 8, that patrol was all that, right? I mean, we came this close to sinking the Malaya, and we came this close to dying and being at the bottom of the ocean. And one thing I noticed is that I was editing the video. I could see by the time we got back to the port, I was exhausted. I was kind of emotionally spent from that. I mean, it was a pretty harrowing patrol, right? And then so I woke up I had some time, and the next day I said, oh, I got a couple hours. I could shoot episode 9 the next day after that. And one of the things I realized is like, no, I'm like emotionally not ready to get back in the U-boat to shoot episode 9 right away. So I had to wait actually a couple of days before we started approaching this one. So kudos to a game that I think, one of the things I think this game does really well is that it paints that narrative, that story of your U-boat, and you want to sink that ship, but you realize your U-boat's all beat up, and so you're making these decisions, over do we push on? Is it time to call it a day? And you get invested, and you don't want to die, but yet you want to sink stuff. So you kind of get emotionally invested in the story of your U-boat, and I hope people are enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying playing it and making these videos. So with that being said, that's a long way to say it. Let's jump in. Let's go on patrol number 9. Let's see what this has got in store for us. All right, let's jump in and do a quick summary of our last patrol. Last patrol was crazy. It was all that again. Almost sunk the Malaya. What a wild adventure. I'm hoping they aren't also so stressful as that last one, although certainly glad to have survived it. Let's jump in. We've got, so this is our 9th patrol. We've got 8 patrols so far. We've sunk over 60,000 tons in damage. Our long-term goal is to get to 100,000 tons of damage, which would give the commander a medal as well as shift us into the victory condition in the game. But our immediate goal, of course, is to survive this mission and have a successful patrol here. If we do that, it would give us 9 successful patrols, which would mean that we'll roll for a crew advancement at the end of the mission. However, a couple of things to talk about before we jump in and get our patrol assignment. In the last video, there are a few little mistakes. Russell Massey, Uwe Beck, and Richard Dorset all pointed out a mistake I made with flooding. And I put a correction in what it was in the description of the last video, but thanks to them for pointing that out. And when it happens again, I'll make note of it in detail, but I don't want to go into detail now because I want to kind of keep moving along. However, Chris T. also pointed out a mistake that's easily fixable that does have a bearing on this patrol, which was that when we got attacked by the aircraft last time in the previous patrol, it damaged our 3.7 centimeter flak gun. However, our submarine doesn't have a 3.7 centimeter flak gun. It has a 2 centimeter flak gun, in which case, as Christy pointed out, you should treat that as no effect. Now, that's important because we got back to port with 3 damaged systems, and you get 2 damaged systems as a refit for free. If you have 3 or more, it takes an extra month. So because this is easily fixable, that our flak gun wasn't indeed damaged, and we would only have 2 systems damaged, that would mean our refit shortens by 1 month. So instead of it being April 1941, we're just going to make it March 1941 because we can fix that error very quickly. So it's March 1941. We are back on patrol, and now let's roll to see what kind of an assignment we get. All right, so the first thing we do is to see if we can pick our own patrol. On a roll of a 1 or a 2, we get to pick our own patrol zone. Yes, a 2. So here's what we're going to do. Now that it's 1941, Wolfpack patrols are an option. So we are going to pick the Atlantic with a Wolfpack, and I'll explain what that means to our hunting odds here. But we're going to go back to the Atlantic. Happy hunting there, and the Wolfpack I think will increase our chances of having a positive result. So let's get started. So here is our patrol route. Just as a reminder, we'll go Bay of Biscay, transit, then Atlantic, 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 back to transit, Bay of Biscay, and back into port if all goes well. So basically the same route as last time, but this time we'll be in Wolfpacks. We'll talk about what that means as we go forward. Let's go through and see if we can, however, make it through the Bay of Biscay. We need a 5 or better to survive this. We get a 5. Ooh, just make it through. One thing, too, on these I wanted to point out. The very top result, a couple of people have been confused by it. The very top result is not a 1, but a 2, because it's rolling on a 2-sided die. So, and you can't see the numbers because the player's aids only have them for the left column. But rather than put up too much information, clipping a screenshot and then I'm outlining it in red that shows the result. But trust me, I'm getting those correct. So we go 2, 3, 4, 5. The fourth one down is result number 5, and we're through the Bay of Biscay with no problems. Let's go to transit now. Second area. Hopefully we can make it through here with a nice big 4 or better. 6, we're through. Oops, sorry, that's off the camera there. There we go. 6, we're through the transit area and then into the Atlantic. Now, all right, I do have a story to tell here, but let's roll for Atlantic. Hoping for a capital ship, and I rolled this earlier, right? Just like 5 minutes ago, and I actually rolled a 2, but I didn't have the dice roll camera recording, so I figured there's like no way people are going to believe me that I actually rolled a 2. So I'm going to roll it again, and we'll take whatever result we get, because I figure that, yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling guilty. I screwed up. I should have recorded the dice roll camera. But anyway, hoping that we can get revenge and get a 2. It'd be great to get another shot at the Malaya. If I roll a 2 now, that would be really crazy. But here we go. A 4. A 4 in the Atlantic is nothing, because we take the third result down with the 4, 2, 3, 4. So we go to our second patrol zone here. Okay, hopefully we get something here. I mean, we have yet to have a patrol. We haven't gotten anything. Let's get a 2. That would be great. A 6. Here we go. All right, so convoy. Just what we were hoping for. So I'm going to set this up, and we're going to talk about what the wolf pack means, and then we're going to go in and attack. Let's get started with it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to see whether it's day or night. A 1, 2, or 3, and it is day. Hoping for night here. 6. Excellent. Good. So we get night. Now, the second thing we do now as part of the escort here is that for Wolfpack patrols, on a die roll of 1 to 5, the escort is busy with other U-boats, and we get a favorable -1 dice roll modifier on escort detection. If it's a 6, the escort is focused on our U-boat, on U-86. We actually get a +1, and this lasts for the entire combat engagement. So for this one, we're hoping here for a 1 to 5 rather than a 6, a 4. Excellent. So this means the escort will be busy, and we're a part of a wolf pack, so when we roll for detection, we get a favorable -1 dice roll modifier. So being part of a wolf pack seems like it has some nice advantages. And we are at night now, and we have a decision to make now because there's a +1 modifier on night attacks now because it's 1941. The question is whether we want to come in on the surface or come in submerged. But first, we're definitely going to attack, so I'm going to set up the ships first, and then we'll make that decision. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to come in submerged, which means we're not going to get the die roll modifier for coming in, for firing our torpedoes at night on the surface. But if we were on the surface, and the reason is if we were on the surface, the escort detection would get a +1 die roll modifier. They already get an additional +1 now because it's 1941. So that means we would need a 7 or less, and I'm not liking those odds so good. I want to get up to 8 or less. So we're going to stay underwater. That means we're firing straight at medium range with these torpedoes. We need 7s or less to hit. Now, I'm going to change how we do this a little bit. I'm going to roll 3 dice. The black die is going to be for whether the torpedo is a dud or not, and the white dice we're going to add up to see if it hits. The nice thing about 1941 is that the torpedoes, both steam and electric, the dud rate drops down to only a 1 out of 6. So if we don't roll a 1, it's not a dud. So we're going to roll a dice. We need a 7 or less to hit, and we need to avoid a 1 in order for it not to be a dud. And another thing too. Gosh, let me talk about our targets. Of course, we have 2 tankers, a large freighter and a small freighter. The tanker is 6,000 tons, so not really that big. It's the Raphael Sims here, so 3 hit points on that one. The small freighter is the Stratford at 4,200 tons. And then the next tanker is the Winnemac at 8,600 tons. So for a tanker, kind of tiny, actually. And then a large freighter, the Ensis, that's 6,200 tons. Rather than fire all our torpedoes at this largest tanker, we're going to fire 3 at the tanker here, the Winnemac, and then 1 at the Ensis, with hopefully that I think we still might be able to sink this tanker, and maybe put some damage on the freighter so that we can follow it and sink it later. And this large freighter is actually bigger than the tanker, so we're going to aim for the large freighter. So let's do first our single shot at the large freighter, hoping for a 7 or less, and we hoping to avoid a 1. Let's fire 1. A 5 and a 6, so it hits, and it's not a dud. So that one will explode on this freighter, and we'll assign that damage later. Now let's roll our other 3 shots on the tanker. Fire 2. We got an 8, which misses. Torpedo was not a dud. We need a 7 or less. Fire 3. We got a 6 and a 6. It hits, and it's not a dud. And then fire 4. Oof. Triple boxcars. It misses, and it's not a dud. We could have used that last one to hit. So 2 misses with our steam torpedoes on the large tanker float wide. 1 steam torpedo hits this tanker, and 1 steam torpedo hits the large freighter. Okay, so now it comes down to dice rolls for damage here. If we look at the dice roll damage chart, we need a 1 or a 2 to do 3 or 4 damage on with these torpedoes. So a 1 or a 2 will sink them. A 3 or 4, 5 or 6 will damage these freighters. Hoping we get at least 1 or 2 here. Let's roll first for the explosion on the large freighter here, the Ensis. Hoping for a 1 or 2. Come on, dice roll gods. 4. A 4 gives us only 1 hit, so the large freighter is damaged but not sunk. Now we come down to our last chance. Gosh, I'm feeling kind of stupid that we spread these out. But we missed twice, which is unfortunate. Now we need a 1 or a 2 to sink this one. Come on, let's dice roll gods. 4. Only 1 hit on this one as well. Okay, so we've damaged 2 ships but sunk nothing. Now we need to escape escort detection before we can figure out what our next move is to follow the convoy. So, to escape detection, our dice roll modifier is generally an 8 or less. However, because it's 1941, we add 1 to the die roll, which means it's a 7 or less. And because we are part of a wolf pack and the escorts are busy with other ships, we get a -1, so back up to 8 or less to escape detection. Let's get away. 7, yes. Okay, so we have escape detection. Our next choice then is, do we want to follow the convoy? And so let's sort that one out. Alrighty, so we haven't had this happen before, but the way this works is following is automatic. But when you have 2 damaged ships, on a roll of a 1 to 4, the damaged ships stay together and are still considered under escort, and normal combat rules apply. On a 5 or a 6, any damaged ships become an unescorted straggler and separate from one another. Then we pick which one of the 2 we want to get. So the question is, we're either going to get 2 together damaged with an escort, or we're going to get to pick one of the 2. We'll take the larger one, of course, if we get a die roll of 5 or 6. Gosh, it feels like either one of these results would be okay. 5. Okay, so once again, we get an unescorted straggler. We're going to take the tanker here, the Winnemac, at 8,600 tons. So the large freighter, the small freighter, the tanker are gone. The escort has abandoned it. We can pick whether it's day or night. We're going to, of course, well, it doesn't matter, I guess, with this. We're going to come in on the surface. I'm flipping these all around here. In the surface at night at close range because there's no escort. Wolf pack doesn't matter. It's got 2 damage. This is one of those easy ones that usually it's pretty easy for us to sink. But let's set this up and whoops, earthquake. Sorry, my bad about that. Let's get this set up and we'll come in for our die rolls. All right. So as our traditional method of operation, we're going to use our deck ammo first. Because it's unescorted, we get to fire everything we want to. We'll probably go deck ammo, then aft torpedo, and then 4 torpedoes if we need them. Hopeful that we can get a couple hits here, though. At close range with the deck gun, we need 8s or less. We need 2 hits to finish off the tanker. Fire 1 here. 9. We missed with our first one. God, that's not good. Second one fires. Oh, gosh. We miss again. Okay. So deck gunner's not on target here. We're going to fire then, turn around, and we're going to shift to our aft torpedo. Hopefully that can do it. I'm trying to save our 4 torpedoes, our forward torpedoes here. Firing our aft torpedo. All right, I just wanted to confirm that there was no penalty for firing both aft and forward torpedoes and then at an unescorted target, and there isn't. So we will fire our torpedo here at close range. Normally it needs an 8 or less, but it's night. It's an unescorted surface torpedo and a night surface torpedo. So we need a 9 or less to hit with the torpedo. Ooh, snake eyes. That's a dead-on hit. Now we roll for damage. If we could get a 1, 2, or 3, we'll get 2 damage or more, which would sink it. 5. So we only get 1 damage. And now our decision is how many of our forward torpedoes do we fire to try to finish it off. Let's fire 2 of our forward torpedoes. because otherwise... Oh! Yes, sorry, we have to roll to see if it's a dud, too. I missed that. So if the torpedo on a 1, it's a dud. A 3, it's not. So that was okay. It exploded and did that damage. Now, however, we need to roll for... We're going to fire 2 more torpedoes here from the forward tubes. They don't incur a penalty. So we need 9s or less and avoid the 1 for a dud. Fire 1. 7 with a 6. That hits. This will definitely finish it off. We'll fire 2 just for... As we did. A 9, it just hits. And a 3, not a dud. These new torpedoes are nice. So we get 2 hits. We'll roll for damage, but this is going to more than send it to the bottom of the ocean. 3 and a 5. We get 2 damage and 1 damage. 3 more damage. The Winnemac, however, is gone to the bottom of the ocean, and we get 8,600 tons worth of damage. But, gosh, it took a lot of our torpedoes. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to use our forward torpedo tubes there. But, nevertheless, good news, because we've sunk the Winnemac with 8,600 tons, and that means that we've got a successful mission and successful patrol, our 9th in a row, so we will get promotions, assuming we can survive until the end of it. And we still have some torpedoes left to fire, so we'll reload and get back out patrolling for our 3rd patrol zone. Alright, so let's move to our 3rd patrol zone in the Atlantic. Still hoping for that capital ship. Let's get Snake Eyes. And I really did roll them in that first thing. I feel that's kind of kicking myself. A 6. Oh, another convoy. Here we go. Let's set it up. It's busy patrols out here in this Atlantic. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is to see whether it's day or night. On a 1, 2, or 3, it's day. 4, 5, or 6, it's night. Excellent. It's a 6, which is night. Now let's see if the wolf pack pulls the escorts away from us on a 1, 2, or 5. Oh, God, a 6. Okay, so the escorts are all over us, which would give them a +1 die roll modifier. It is night. I'm going to see what targets are here to determine whether we want to pass on this one or engage. So I'm going to roll for the targets and see what we get. Okay, so I paused here and went and looked up a kind of a clarification. I was curious as when you roll this Wolfpack modifier, like if once you roll it, you're committed to attacking, or when to roll it. And actually, the designer replied on Wargame Geek about this a while ago, and he said, if it were daytime and the Wolfpack were focused on us, we could then try to follow the convoy and wait until nighttime. Because we're re-engaging the convoy in a different kind of combat round, then you would re-roll the Wolfpack modifier. So that's good to know going forward. And it's good to know that we are doing what the next step right here, which just means we're going to disengage from this convoy. This +1 modifier is deadly, and we would get detected. So with 1 more patrol zone to go, we're going to pull away from this convoy and let it slip off into the night, and we're going to move on to the next patrol zone. Alright, so we are heading to our 4th zone. One of the things I actually wondered here is whether we could follow that convoy even though we didn't engage it and try to follow it up. But it seems like my best understanding from checking the rules is that you have to fire a torpedo in order to be able to follow a convoy. You can't just decide not to engage a convoy and then follow it. You have to actually have engaged with it before you could follow it. So we'll go with that. Going to our box on the Atlantic, our last zone here. It'd be nice to get 1 more engagement. We've still got 7 torpedoes left. Let's get a good roll here. 6. Yes! Another convoy. Alright. This time we're going in for sure. Alrighty, so let's do our rolls. Let's see if it's daytime or nighttime. It is nighttime. Yes, 3 for 3 on nighttime rolls. That's good. Now we're hoping to get an unfocused escort here. Let's get 1 to 5. 1. Yes, excellent. So the escort is bothering with some other wolf packs, elements of the wolf pack. So good, we have night and escort's busy, so we get that +1 modifier. Escort, however, is present. Let us roll now to see what ships we have. So we've got the baby convoy here. Everything is a small freighter. On the left here, at only 1,200 tons, is the Klantara. Then next beside that, we have seen the 1,800-ton Gartavon. And then the largest of the targets here is the Bangor Head at 2.6 thousand 2,600 tons. And then lastly over here, the Trolla at 1,600 tons. So 1,200 tons, 1,800 tons, 1,600 tons, 2,600 tons, and 1,600 tons. Not big targets at all. But we're going in. And so let's come in here. We're going to try a little bit of challenge. We're going to spread out our torpedoes because if it hits, there's a 50% chance we sink, so it doesn't make sense to bunch up too much. So we're going to fire 2 of our steam torpedoes, are most likely to hit torpedoes, at the Gartavon to try to put that one under for sure. Sorry, at the Bangor Head, which is 2,600 tons. Then let's fire one of our electrics out at the Trolla on the outside of the convoy, and then next at the second largest target here actually is the Gartavon at 1,800 tons, and we will leave the Klantara at 1,200 tons untargeted. So let's set up our attack and get these torpedoes in the water. So let's do our electric torpedo here on the Gartavon first. The electric torpedo has a less of a chance to hit. We're firing at medium range. It is, we're going in submerged too. We're not going to be on the surface because I don't want that +1 modifier. So instead of a 7 or less, we need a 6 or less because it's an electric torpedo at medium range. We're firing away, hoping for a good roll. Nice! A 4, and it is not a dud. So we've put a torpedo into the side of the Gartavon, and it explodes. Let's do our next electric torpedo here, firing at the 1,600-ton Trolla. Same exact shot. An 8, which goes wide and misses. So the Trolla will likely live to sail another day. And now we'll do our 2 steam torpedoes coming in at the side of our biggest target, the Bangor Head. For the steam ones, we need 7s or less, and then we need to avoid 1s so they don't dud. Fire 3. It's a 9, way wide. Was not a dud. And fire 4. A 5 and a 3. So we get 1 hit that explodes on the Bangor Head, and then 1 hit that explodes on the Gartavon. Let's see what type of damage we do on the Gartavon. So on a 4, 5, or 6, a torpedo does 1 damage. On a 1, 2, or 3, it does more than that. So on a 1, 2, or 3, we sink the Gartavon. Otherwise, we only half sink it. We have not had the best luck with these damage shots that when we need something to sink a torpedo, to sink a ship, it just doesn't seem to be a very powerful hit. Let's see, however, this would be the one we really want. Same type of a roll. We need a 1, 2, or 3 to sink it. Yes! Excellent. So a 3 does 2 damage, which is just enough to sink the Bangor Head and Bangor Head and send it to the bottom of the ocean. So we add 2,600 tons onto our tally and send that one to the bottom of the ocean. However, now we need to see if we can escape detection. So let's do that roll. This is our critical one. So the base roll is an 8 or less, but because it's 1941 now, we add 1 to the die roll. However, we did not fire G7 torpedoes during that. I don't think anything else applies except that the Wolfpack is keeping the escorts busy. So that +1 modifier becomes a -1. +1 modifier and a -1 cancel each other out. We need an 8 or less to escape detection. Oh, gosh, here we go. All right, they found us, so time to get attacked. All right, first we roll to see how many hits they are. Lower the better here. A 2 or 3 would be nice. 6. 6 is 1 hit. Oh, that's not bad, because there's no dice roll modifiers here. We were not on the surface. And nothing else applies there. So only 1 hit. Let's see what damage it does. We're doing black die first to get the 2-digit number here. Get a 24. 24 is the flak guns. So the flak guns will be damaged, which, that I suppose that could have a bearing on our return trip should we get detected by an aircraft. But for right now, that's not too bad. Now we go back to see if we are detected again. Normally we need an 8 or less, but we have 1941 +1, Wolfpack -1, previously detected +1. So that means we need a 7 or less to escape detection. Whew, nice. 2. We're out of here. Okay. So we've got a damaged ship and we've got a convoy. We are going to follow, of course, to see if we can finish this one off. We've still got, whoops, sorry, late depth charge there. We've still got torpedoes left to fire. All right, so we have a damaged ship, the Garvaton, which we put 1 hit on. So we are going to follow that one. And following is automatic. We can choose the time of day. We're going to come in at nighttime. On a 1 to 4, it's escorted still. On a 5 or 6, the escorts have said good luck, and it's by itself. 3. So the escort is still here, and we're coming in on this small freighter. So that means we'll have to think about how we want to attack this. The Wolfpack does not apply because it's not a convoy. and it is nighttime. So let's sort this out and figure out what we're going to do to attack. One of the thoughts I had was to come in hard and really try to come close and maybe even use our deck guns despite the escort. But this really isn't worth it, right? It's only 1,600 tons of cargo, so it seems crazy to put our U-boat at extreme risk, and especially if it means we get more damaged and we would have to have a longer refit. So we're going to be a little bit conservative and do the same thing we did last time, which is to come in at medium range where we need a 7 or less and fire our our electric torpedoes that we have left in the forward tube. So we'll fire both of those. That at medium range, however, they have a -1 modifier, so we need a 6 or less to hit them, and hopefully one of these can hit. All we need is one hit, so 6 or less, and checking for the black die for duds too. Fire 1. 9 and a 3. It's not a dud, but it goes wide. Fire 2. 8 and 3. God, suck. Both shots miss and sail wide. And now we have to try to escape detection. So our roll is... we don't have the benefits of the convoy. So instead of an 8 or less, because it's 1941 and they're better escorts, we need a 7 or less to get out of here. So let's, hopefully we make this nice and easy. 7 or less, let's sneak off into the night. A 6, yes. Boy, that 7, I mean, that's right in the middle. Like a 7 is the most common roll, right? So it's kind of like, I feel like, I mean, the odds are with us a little bit, but it's almost like it's a flip and a coin there, isn't it? So, but anyway, a 6, and we can escape into the night. Now, we could attempt another round of combat, but it's just not worth it, really. It's 1,600 tons. I mean, it would be nice to sink the ship, I suppose. Heck, I'll think about it. Hang on one second. Oh, okay. So I just realized that this is like following a convoy, and because the ship is damaged, I kind of looked this up in the rules, we automatically follow it, and we can choose night or day. So it's basically like we get a chance to redo that previous encounter, and because we fired torpedoes and engaged it, we can do it again. And this also gives us that roll of a 1 to 4, where it remain under escort. On a 5 or a 6, the escort says, yeah, good luck the rest of the ways on your own to the Garvatron here. So let's see what we get. 6. Nice. I'm pretty sure I've gotten this right. I'm just going to double check the rules here for a second, but if I've got it right, this means that we pick the time of day, night, and now it's unescorted and we can finish it off. So let me just double check to make sure that that's correct. All right, just for the record, I did double check the rules, and I'm pretty sure, confident that this is how it works, that as long as you fire and it's an escorted ship, you can follow it, and as long as it's damaged, you basically just regenerate the encounter, which I guess makes sense, and it's awful nice for that escort to have left the Garvatron behind now. But this means that we can come in at night at close range up on the surface here and actually essentially probably just finish off the Garvatron. The Gartavon, sorry, let's get the name right in respect for their servicemen. An 8 or less at close range with the deck gun will finish it off. We get 2 shots. Fire 1. Snake eyes, that hits. So this is just a matter of record now. The second one misses, but because it's hit and we've got damage, we roll for damage. 5, which is 1 damage, but that's all it takes. And the Gartavon, who was abandoned by his escorts in the second round here, in the next encounter, goes to the bottom of the ocean, which actually is helpful for us because that means, so it gives us our 3rd ship sunk on this one. So we got the Gartavon at 1.8 thousand tons, the Bangor Head at 2.6 thousand, and then the Winnemac at 8.6 thousand. 3 ships, and if we get 10 ships, we get a dice roll modifier to our promotion possibility roll at the end of the extra year. So it's always nice to sink some more. So with 1 torpedo left in our aft tubes, it is time for us now to head for home as this encounter is over. All right, so let's head for home. We head to the first transit zone, hoping for big numbers here on this one. Oops, I gotta roll the die. Well, there. I rolled it as I threw it. It was a 4, so we're safely through that one. I didn't have the camera on there, but that's what the result was. And then let's now go to our Bay of Biscay with the camera on to explode it up. We need a 5 or greater for the Bay of Biscay, hoping for a big number. Oh, God, aircraft. Okay. And our flak gun. Oh, we didn't roll to fix our flak gun, so I'm going to roll to see if we fix that first, and then we'll engage here. So, all right, so the thing that I didn't do at the end, I forgot to do, is to see if we had fixed our flak gun or not. We needed a roll of a 1 or a 2 to fix that. Let's see if Engineer Mahler and his team can fix the flak gun. Ah, they do. Excellent. Very good. So that means that we will be able to use that in this aircraft encounter. Let's set it up. All right, so the way this starts first is we have a crash dive. We need a 6 or more to successfully crash dive, and there are no modifiers that are applied here. Big number. God, not again. Okay, now we see if we hit the aircraft on the flak attack, a 5 or less would damage or shoot down the aircraft. If we miss the aircraft, excuse me, and we get hit, so this is not good. So let's roll to see what the damage is here now. Alright, so there is a 1 attack plus 1 crew injury. We roll for the crew injury momentarily, but first of all, we're going to roll to see what the hits are here. Hoping for a nice low number. There's a plus 2 modifier on this because it is an air attack. 9. Oof, plus 2 is an 11. 4 hits. This is a nasty aircraft. Okay, so let's roll for our damage here. This is not good. 24. Flak gun again. Okay, so let's throw some damage on the flak guns here. This one just is generic, so it must be just whichever one you've got. So that's our first roll. 3 hits left to take care of. Second one, 53. 53 is crew injury, so we'll have two crew injuries to roll shortly. Let's roll for our third one. 36 is the deck gun. We won't need that again, but I'm hoping that we can stay out here. The deck gun right here. So that's injured. Our last hit here. 33. 33 is the hull. Ow, bugger. So that means an extra month. So instead of at the very minimum, instead of a 1 month refit, we're going to be in for 2 months on the refit there. Okay, but we still have to now roll for our crew injuries. Let's see what we get. For the crew injuries, we roll for our first one. We have 2 to take care of. We get a 10, which is the second warrant officer. Oh no, second warrant officer is Officer Ray. 1 to 3, it's light wound. 4, 5, or 6, it's severe wound. A 6, and we've lost Officer Ray. 2, lightly wounded. Okay, so that's not good, but he will recover at that rate, so that was a fortunate thing. Let's roll for our second injury. 4 is our engineer Mahler. God, he's not kind to us here. So 1, 2, 3 is a light wound. 4, 5, yeah, we don't want a 6. A 1, excellent. Okay, so all things considered, we've made it through that round so far. Now we have to sort out whether the attack continues or not. Alrighty, so as we try to limp away, the aircraft here is shadowing us. We need to roll to check on an additional round of combat, which means that we need a 6 or greater to escape here. Nice big roll. 6. Oh, so close, but we've made it. So we have escaped the additional round of combat. We can get out of here. All right, so finally, after escaping that aircraft with some significant damage, we slip back into the port. The pen's in France, and our mission has come to a halt. Not as dramatic as the last one, but still a bunch of drama. These Atlantic patrols are getting hairy. Let's summarize and refit for our next patrol. Let's sort out our damage. Now we could have tried to fix these in the ocean, but with only 2, it doesn't matter because we can have 2 free ones back for our refit. That doesn't extend it. So our normal refit would be 1 month. Those 2 are handled free, which would still leave it at 1 month. However, that damage to the hull adds 1 month to it. So our refit is once again going to be 2 months. Light wounds heal, no problem. So we will sort those out, and those are okay. Now let's roll, however, to see about our crew advancement. So on a roll of we don't want a 2 or a 4 because that would be both our Dr. David, or Second Officer Ray. We want something other than that because otherwise that would mean that nothing happens. So we're looking for a 1, which would be our engineer, or we're looking for a 3, which would be our first watch officer, or we're looking for a 5 or a 6, which would be the crew. Here we go. A 3. Excellent. First watch officer. So that is McLeod. So Watch Officer McLeod becomes an expert. We'll get that out momentarily. And let's start refitting our U-86 here, and let's talk about kind of sum up our patrol as well too. All right, so let's get our torpedoes back out here, and we can just sum up our patrol. Another successful patrol. I felt like that one, all things considered, considering we suffered a couple of attacks, went fairly well. Twice we engaged convoys, coming up with 3 ships sunk. We sunk the 8,600-ton Winnemac in our first engagement. Then in the second engagement, we sunk 2 ships, 2 smaller freighters, the 1,800-ton Gardeval and the 2,600-ton Bangor Head. That gives us actually a very even total of 13,000 tons for this patrol. So not a bad patrol's worth of work, I think, for that one. Adding that to our 67,800 tons of sunk damage, we're at 80,800 tons. Less than 20,000 tons away from shifting into the victory category. And we are approaching, with our next patrol, we'll be about halfway through the timeline of the war. So still kicking, still going, making progress. 9 patrols in, and we've now got 3 crew members advanced. So our first watch officer, our second watch officer, and our doctor, still not the engineer. Mahler would be actually a very good one to have advanced because he would have some die roll benefits there. But no luck there. Hopefully we'll get that at some point. But I think that brings us now to the end of this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, please consider subscribing. I hope to be back this weekend for our next one, patrol number 10. I'm still amazed that we're still alive. Although I think the wolf packs, that could be really beneficial for hunting, kind of to mitigate some of those dice roll modifiers. Having said that, if we do make it to 1942, the dice roll modifiers really slant against us. So we'll be back in June 1941 for our 10th patrol. Let me know what you think. Thanks again for tuning in and watching, and we'll see you in the next patrol of U-86.